welcome team's founder and executive director, Ryan Hill.
Thank you. This is a tough act to follow, especially since I don't know the words to that last song, so I can't sing it. I heard them warming up with Let It Go. For those of you who know the Disney movie, I think it was Frozen. I have a 2.5-year-old at home, and I hear that song roughly 1,000 times a day, so I was psyched because I was going to be ready for this, but now I'm not, so you'll have to deal with my speech instead. So, good evening. It's so great to see you all here tonight at our biggest and in many ways most momentous Be the Change event ever, with over 1,500 people in attendance now and over 400 attending the dinner later. And over 400,000 raised coming in the door so far, and we hope that by the end of the night we surpass our best ever total, which was almost $1 million. And especially if we get it. And lastly, as I'll discuss in a minute, this year we've hit a number of big milestones as an organization, and tonight we celebrate those as well. But before I get to those, I want to recognize a number of people who are here tonight. First, thank you to our honorees. Ron Bate, what you've done with Teachers Village and what you're going to do for our downtown in Newark will have a tremendous impact on our schools, our teachers, and not just our city's skyline, but its economy as well. Thank you, and we're honored to be working with you. Secondly, Senator Norcross, among many legislative accomplishments over the years, nearest and dearest to us is that you've written the legislation with the Urban Hope Act that enticed us to come to Camden and be part of the educational revolution that your efforts will enable in that city. You've been great to work with, and your leadership in Camden and in this state is inspiring. And also, congratulations on your win last night. We also want to honor two of our board members tonight who are stepping down from the board this month after very long tenures on our board, Tom Dunn and Pat Ross. For the last 8 years, Tom has supported us and advised us through years of what has at least felt like very rapid growth. And as a founding teen parent, Pat has represented parents and the community on our board for over a decade. Neither of you is going away, I know. But thank you for all you've done so far as our board members. I also want to mention some more public officials in the crowd today. We're lucky to have Camden Mayor Dana Redd in attendance. Thank you for all of your support, Mayor Redd. We want to welcome former Governor Tom Kean, who we honored a couple of years ago, and we're honored to have here with him tonight. Newark School Board member Khalil Rashidi, who is also the proud parent of a couple teen students. We also have the superintendents from both of the districts in which we are working, Superintendents Anderson and Rahanafard from Newark and Camden. Both are bold superintendents who have among the toughest jobs in the world and are pushing for the reforms our kids need. And also, I just remembered today that it's Superintendent Rahanafard's birthday, and I told him we were going to have everybody sing happy birthday to him, but maybe we'll do that at the end. We're also honored to have in the audience our founding board chair, Shabar Jeffries, who, as you all know, he was a huge underdog in the Newark mayoral election and ended up losing a very close race. We look forward to everything the very bright future holds for Shabar as he works on behalf of our city, and we look forward to working with Mayor-elect Baraka as well. And finally, some others who are here, George Norcross and Susan Bass-Levin and the whole team at the Cooper Foundation. You came to us almost 2 years ago with this crazy idea that we should expand to Camden, and you made a lot of commitments, and every single one of them has come true. We love working with people who do what they say they're going to do, and you guys always deliver. So thank you. Speaking of which, in KIPP we have this saying, promises to children are sacred. Fundamentally, this is what we are all about, keeping the promises we make to our students, to their families, and to the communities we serve. Way back in January of 2002, 4 teachers, an office manager, some board members, and I started making promises to the children of Newark. And in many ways, tonight represents the fulfillment of many of those promises. First of all, before we even came to Newark, when I was considering joining KIPP, I was nervous or apprehensive about charter schools because I'd heard charter schools only take the best off students in town. I was assured, however, that KIPP is about serving the kids who need us most, and that we could recruit in the neighborhoods where those kids live. That's what we've done, and that's the fundamental promise on which we founded TEAM, to serve a real cross-section of kids in Newark. To this end, we have spent lots of time and money recruiting in the neighborhoods where we are most needed. We have also, with the help of many of you in the crowd tonight, spent millions of dollars on busing so that we can truly be open to all students regardless of where a kid lives or whether his or her parents have cars. And those efforts have paid off. We have kept this promise. As you can see, we have about the same percentage of students from low-income families as the district does. We have almost exactly the same percentage of students with special needs as the district does, so it's a myth that we don't serve special ed, students with special needs. The only difference is in elementary, where most of our kids are either in kindergarten or first grade and haven't had a chance to be classified yet, but otherwise our percentages are the same. And about 93% of our students are African American, with almost everyone else being Latino. So again, we have fulfilled this promise so far. Over the years, we've had a number of parents ask us to make another promise to kids we don't have yet. I remember Jada's mom, Tiffany, whose daughter Shanae was at TEAM, and every time I saw Tiffany, she would ask me, "When are you going to open an elementary school? I really want Jada never to have to play catch-up. Why can't she be ahead from the beginning?" And we promised Tiffany, and other parents as well, that we would do that. We'd start in elementary, and a few years later, we did start Spark Academy, just in time for Jada to be a founding student. And this year, Spark helped us fulfill another promise by adding a 4th grade, and thus becoming full size for the first time. This means that TEAM Schools now serves all grades, fulfilling our commitment to be a full K-12 program for our kids. And as you know, Spark now has a permanent home in Ron Bates' Teachers Village. Along these lines, as we built a track record over the years, we started to see a tremendous demand for more schools like the ones we had. So in 2006, we developed a growth plan that most of you have seen, or many of you have seen, projecting us to grow to 10 schools, serving 4,800 students, or about 12% of the public school students in Newark. And here's that growth trajectory as we anticipated it back in 2006. And here's the reality. So we almost got there. And next year, here's what we're looking at. So we will actually surpass what our plans were way back then. So we're keeping that promise with our 7th school, Life Academy, opening in Newark next year. A brief word on Life Academy. As many of you have heard, we're going to be taking over the operation of grades K through 4 in a district school, Bregaw Avenue School in Newark this year. It will be part of Life Academy, which will open with our typical 110 kindergartners, but will also be available to the additional 110 or so kids currently in grades K through 3 at Bregaw. The school was going to be closed because of low enrollment, so we agreed to take in the additional students so they could stay at Bregaw under our management. The school will be run as one school with 2 academies and 2 principals. Sam Traub will run the new 110 student kindergarten, that's her on the left, with her operations director, Ashley Cromwell. And Jess Boston will be the principal of the 110 students in grades 1 through 4. Another promise we have made to Jada and her sister and all of their classmates is to help them close or never experience the achievement gap. There are lots of ways to define the achievement gap, but many define it as a difference in test scores between low-income students and the average kid in America. And we have basically closed that for our kids. It's hard to see exactly what's going on in this graph, but the multicolored lines are our various elementary scores, and the dotted line is the national average. As you can see, our kids get ahead in kindergarten, and they stay ahead throughout elementary school. In our middle schools, they come in from the district a few grade levels behind, but they eventually catch up, and in some cases, they surpass the national average. And in high school, while we don't have the same national test, on the state test, we outperform both Newark Public Schools and the state of New Jersey. So as for closing the gap between our kids and the national average, we've kept that promise as well. Now last year, the demand we faced in Newark spread to another community, and after being invited to partner with the Cooper Foundation and the Norcross family, we made a new commitment to the students of Camden. And through Senator Norcross's Urban Hope Act, we were approved to open 5 schools in Camden to serve almost a quarter of the students there. And we are at the very, very beginning of keeping that promise, as we've enrolled 111 new kindergarten students and 200 pre-K students to start in August at our KIPP Cooper Norcross's Revolution Academy. We did not make any commitments about simple names. This is founding principal of Revolution Academy, as we'll shorten it to for now, Ann Katawaki on the far right. And these are kids and families from their open house, which I think happened yesterday. You'll note that I said the word KIPP. While the charter law for many years has precluded us from using the name of another organization, in this case KIPP, the Urban Hope Act doesn't have that prohibition in it. So we are forming a new statewide nonprofit organization called KIPP New Jersey, through which we'll manage our schools in Newark and Camden. So when you hear the name KIPP New Jersey going forward, it's still us. That's what we're talking about. A note about this particular promise in Camden. 12 years ago, right around the time we were opening Team Academy in Newark, and many times over the years since then, the Landing Square community in Camden was promised a new school. They got the community together, and together they designed a building that would replace the old, crumbling Landing Square building. And those designs sat on a shelf for 12 years, gathering dust, until our partners in Camden picked up the plans and said, enough of this. We are going to fulfill the promises that the state has broken so many times over the years. So last March, we broke ground on KIPP Cooper Norcross Academy at Landing Square, the first of our 5 schools in Camden. In a year, that building, built with the same design as had been designed many years ago, will be ready, and we'll be making good on yet another 12-year-old promise, though this one was one we didn't make. Now, the most important promise we make is one we've made every year when we visit the homes of each of our new students since those first 80 home visits we made back in April of 2002, and at each and every one of the 500 home visits we will do this year. It's the very first promise we make to our kids, and it's the one we hold most sacred. It's the promise we made to Ebony when she was a 4th grader back in 2002, and we sat on the couch in her living room. I think that picture, which is from Facebook, is a little bit before 4th grade. Use your imagination. And as we sat on the couch in her living room, at her house in the South Ward, about a block away from Team Academy, and promised her that if we did what we asked of her, we promised she would get both to and through college. And we would be with her every step of the way. So how have we done on that promise? Well, Ebony worked hard in middle school, for the most part, did what we asked of her. Not always right when we asked her, but she was a kid. And then she went on to Marist High School, before we had our own high school. She did well there, and stayed in touch with our alumni counselors, getting help whenever she needed it. Had ups and downs like any teenager, but between her family and our KIPP College team, she made it to college, where she started at Delaware State University. But she didn't feel like she was being challenged enough there, so she transferred to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and that challenged her a lot. And she dug really deep, taking 18 credits her last semester of her senior year. And her determination paid off, as a couple weeks ago she posted this on my Facebook page. Here's Ebony on graduation day. And along with Ebony, there was Tiara, who graduated from Howard and will be headed to graduate school next year. Kenyatta graduated from George Washington University. You'll hear from her later. Brandon, who graduated from Drew. Andrew, who graduated from St. Peter's. And Courtney, who graduated from Rider University. Before I go on, I should say there are a lot of kids beyond the ones that I've mentioned who graduated. In some cases, these were the easiest to get their Facebook pictures of them graduating. But we're proud of all of them. We're also proud of the students who haven't graduated yet, but are still working really hard either to finish or to do things that are extremely productive outside of education. But about Courtney, I mentioned her earlier. Her mom had to leave our board recently. Because next year, Courtney will become a founding teacher at this really promising new school in the South Ward of Newark, a school called Life Academy, which will be the 4th elementary school in Newark. As you can see, she's always been a teacher at heart. Nationally, we know that only 8% of low-income students graduate from 4-year colleges, and about 40% of KIPPsters do. And only 33% from all income levels across the nation graduate college. But our kids, our graduates, our projected graduates from our first class, are on track to have a 4-year graduation rate of 51%, over 6 times that of their peers around the country. So together with you, as we look back on the last 12 years, we have kept a lot of our promises. We've indeed held them sacred. But even so, there are a number of promises we haven't kept yet, and we will need your help fulfilling them in the future. First, while we are proud that a bit over half of our kids will graduate college, half of our kids probably won't. We have to get better, and we will get better, as we've developed college partnerships with all of these schools, in which we are layering on incredible levels of support for our kids who often walk a wobbly tightrope after they leave us. This, in combination with national college partnerships that the KIPP Foundation has formed across the country, and our kids will get the safety net that they need. Secondly, we don't believe we should be aiming to merely close the achievement gap between our kids and average income kids, because that bar would not be high enough for my own 2 kids. Our aim is to match not the national average, but to match the average college completion rate of kids in the wealthiest communities in America. And we aren't there yet. Lastly, a promise we have not kept yet is that of our vision statement, which we view as our promise to all the kids and the communities of Newark and the people of Camden. One day our nation will know Newark and Camden, New Jersey as cities of world-class education. We're not there yet in either city. In fact, we're a long way away. In Camden last year, there were 3 college-ready kids in the whole city. 3. And in Newark, while the number of schools beating the state average on state tests has almost doubled in the past 12 years, there are still way too many kids who aren't getting the education they deserve. It's no wonder that coming into this year, we had a wait list of almost 10,000 students. We view this vision statement as a promise that's just as sacred as all the others we've made. We intend to work with all of you to keep this promise too. And there's reason to think we will. When Jada's class goes to college, they will have been in our system, not from grades 5 through 8, like the kids who are graduating now, but will be with us all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. Last year, Jada's class at Spark outperformed the district and the state and some of the suburbs around here by a pretty good amount. The road ahead is a long one. We will need your help. Kids like Ebony need the support of counselors and scholarships, and we'll need you to be there for our future kids like you've been there for her. We have 4 more schools to open over the next next few years in Newark and 5 in Camden. And we have about 45,000 kids in Newark and Camden who need us and need everyone to do more. And just as you have enabled us to keep our promises to Ebony and Courtney and Tiara and Brandon, Kenyetta, Andrew, we will need you to help us again in promising the thousands of kids in our state's greatest cities that we won't rest until they all have the same opportunities as our kids have, as our students have, as my kids have, as your kids have, and most importantly, they all have the opportunities that they deserve. Thank you.